Hey guys, welcome back to MYC Uncensored. So you're listening to Sophia. Before I get into the question, I just want to acknowledge that today is International LGBTQIA Plus Pride Day. So I just want to acknowledge those in the community and also those who are allies. Today's a very special day, and because of that, I'm going to be answering a question based on LGBTQIA community, and that is, how do I tell my parents I am bi? So first off, thank you for this question. I think it's such an important question to address. So let's get into it. So I think it's important to first note that there's always this pressure that you need to come out as your sexuality, whether it's bi, lesbian, gay, and all the others. However, you may not need to, in the sense of just because others do it doesn't mean you have to. So it's about acknowledging whether you want to come out or not, because there's this expectation that you are required to come out, but not everyone does and not everyone needs to. So it's about reflecting on, do I want to come out and do I want to address it? Now, clearly this person wants to address it because they want to tell their parents, or for others it might be guardians, and that's a really cool step in itself, acknowledging that you want to come out to your family and it's very special. So how do I do that? So I think the first thing, it is important to research about your sexuality. So for this instance, we are talking about bisexuality. So I suggest watching shows, movies, podcasts about the sexuality and about talking about it, because the more you know and the more knowledge you have, the more you can share it with your family and you can spread awareness about your sexuality and educate them, because a lot of people may not know what bi even means. So starting off by understanding yourself, bisexuality, what that means, like as the definition, but also what it means to you, is so important. So by doing this, it allows you to accept yourself, and by accepting yourself, you can learn to love yourself, and that can help with the process of coming out to your parents. It can be really scary coming out to your parents. However, it is important to stay true to yourself. It may start by you telling some of your close friends. So this may allow you to kind of practice on them of how you would tell your parents or guardian that you are bi. And this allows for conversations to happen, and you can see how your friends will react, and that will might prepare you to tell your parents or guardians or whatnot. And this can be a really positive step into the right direction. And despite who you are telling, being open and honest with them is so important, because at the end of the day, there is something so special about sharing and being vulnerable with people you're close with. And so this is a step in a really great and positive direction. I think as well, when you are telling your parents, it is important to share how important this information is to you and what it actually feels like for you. And it's also critical to find the right time and place. So reflect, where do you feel comfortable the most when you are with your parents or when you are with your guardians? When? Is it in the morning because, they had a good night's sleep? Is it at night because the work or school day's over? So reflecting on where you're going to do it is so important, because I feel like that can play an impact on how they will react. So once a place is decided, picking out how to bring it up is important. So for example, you can literally just start off by saying, guys, there's something that I've been wanting to tell you, and it is that I'm bi, and start the conversation that way. Or you can kind of segue into it and be like, oh, did you see X, Y, and Z is bi? It could be a famous person or someone they really like, so they can connect with and resonate with. And you can be like, well, this person is bi and so am I, and start the conversation that way. I think that could be a really cool way to start that conversation and break down like that awkwardness, I feel like. But at the end of the day, it's also about finding your own personal way, because everyone's different. Everyone's parents or guardians are different and you know them the best. So finding your own way is important. So I guess that's how you tell them. But I think part of this question is your parents' reaction or guardian's reaction. And it will be different for everyone, and that can be based on because of culture, religion. It could be based on what they might fear, like what others may fear. But at the end of the day, I feel like there could be a few ways they could react. So the first way, you might be really surprised, and for them, because it's 2023, they may be like, you know what, like, thank you for telling me, and they accept you, and they are glad that you were open and honest with them, and they are encouraging this conversation and allowing you to tell them about your interests and things like that when it comes to your sexuality. Also, they may be at shock, and understanding that shock might happen, but at the same time, that shock may calm down and they might be like, okay, really shocked at first, but then once they calm down, reflect on what you actually said, like, they will accept you for you and proud that you told them. And again, like, that community, like, conversation of your sexuality can happen, and you can try and start other conversations and educate them. Now, unfortunately, parents or guardians may be against the LGBTQIA or about you being bi. But it's important to note that it's so important to stay true to yourself. And at the end of the day, your parents or guardian wants the best for you. And so they will be able to see how important it is to you, and they will learn and they will be educated by you, and they will accept you and love you. And at the end of the day, you want to stay true to yourself, and sexuality is such a big thing in all our lives, and being true and honest with yourself is so important. So at the end of the day, parents will react differently, and it's okay. And you unfortunately won't know how they're going to react until you tell them, and then you deal with how they react after. But it's also important to note all the reactions they could possibly have. Also, at the same time, I think preempting how they will react might be a limitation, because it might cause fear and scaredness to share it, because you're like, oh my God, they're just going to say, nope, I don't believe it. But they might surprise you, and that might be like a way of thinking of, you know what, instead of preempting how they're going to react, think about, they might surprise me, and tell them, and it kind of just rips off the Band-Aid as well. So I feel like that's really important to know, that either way, it's still really encouraged to share this information despite their reactions. So now I'm going to get a little bit personal here. So as an ally myself, I wanted to share some of the ways I support my friends, the community, and I thought it would be a great way to kind of wrap up this podcast. So the first thing I like to do is listen and learn from the LGBTQIA plus community. I love to educate myself, and I love learning more about what it means to different people, because everyone's definition and meaning are so different. The second thing I like to do is use inclusive language and pronouns, so like him, they, her, whatnot. And I think that's so important as an ally to understand the pronouns and respecting that boundary. The third thing I like to do is stand up against discrimination. So breaking down that stigma. I might not be discriminated against, but as an ally, I think it's so important to break that that discrimination against LGBTQIA plus, whether that's by talking, completing podcasts like these. I think it's so important. And the last thing I like to do is learn the services out there, so that way I can support you guys who are listening to this podcast, but also my own friends and just like the people around me, because it's so important to have useful information about LGBTQIA plus, and all the services that are out there are amazing. So now that we're coming to the end of the podcast, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I had so much fun talking about this topic. As usual, if you have any more questions, please send them through. As you know, it's anonymous, so it's all confidential, and I can't wait to break down more of a taboo, stigmatized, and topics that aren't really talked about. So thank you guys for listening. Bye.